Okay, we are live.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm pretty excited to come to you live from my front yard here at Kamp Kenan, and today we're going to be hanging out with none other than my good buddy, Nostradamus. Now, a couple things before I really get going on Nostradamus is you're probably wondering, why are we going so early? And that's because, well, we are going to be filming new episodes of the Kamp Kenan show that air every Tuesday right here on our channel. So we're going to be busy later on this afternoon. So I figured rather than just dump the broadcast, let's do a live one a little bit earlier. So we've got some cool folks joining us from Budapest and India and places in Europe. So I know you guys were worried about not being able to see the live stream. Well, today it's for you. And maybe this is something we'll switch up from time to time so some of our viewers from overseas can kind of get a chance to see the live show and interact with me live. So yeah, we are hanging out. Tom's also running the camera here today. Yeah. There he is, and he's got a mustache from Movember. I'm sorry you had to see that. So Tom's down here. We're filming new Kamp Kenan episodes. So here we are. We're outside. Bring the camera down, Tom. We are going to be hanging out with Nostradamus right now, and this is definitely my buddy. If I had a favorite tortoise, this would be it. And I thought, what a nice way for us to get to know Nostradamus. I can tell you a little bit about the Aldabra tortoise. I got Nostradamus in August of 2004. I actually got him with another Aldabra tortoise. They were both only about that big. Sadly, a couple years into raising them both, the other tortoise passed away. It got pneumonia. And when pneumonia comes on and you start to see symptoms, usually it is too late. As soon as I saw symptoms, I brought him to the vet, and sadly, a couple days later, he did pass away. Pneumonia is extremely dangerous for tortoises. And the reason it is because that's fluid in the lungs, and tortoises don't have a diaphragm. They have no way to really sneeze to expel that fluid or mucus in their lungs. So they essentially asphyxiate, they suffocate on their own mucus. So how he got the pneumonia, I don't know. Obviously, it's an infection, and it's something that could have happened with improper environmental conditions. So I learned that lesson. I bumped up the heat in their house, and that's basically the deal. But by and large, Aldabra tortoises are extremely hardy. These guys, when you do keep them in captivity, they are animals that do very, very well. There are some great breeders out there. Aldabra Man out there in southwestern Florida offers beautiful Aldabra tortoises that are captive raised. This animal was captive raised. It was born in the Seychelles, but it was born on a farm. And I did get this animal, like I said, in 2004, and I named him Nostradamus because he just seems wise and seems like it's a fitting name. And it is a male. I can now confirm that because last week while giving a tour, he showed me his male part. And so I'm very excited about that. And you notice how when I touch him, he goes into this kind of like almost a trance-like state. He stretches his neck out. He loves a good scratch on his neck. So many people theorize, oh, that's because birds fly down and they pick the ticks off. And that's true. But I think it's just because it feels good, to be perfectly honest. I mean, we don't have to overthink some of these things. I mean, I think it just feels good. He likes having his neck scratched, and it provides him it provides some animals in the wild an opportunity for them to pick ticks and so on off of their skin, any ectoparasites they may have. Nostradamus, I don't know. When I got this tortoise, when he was very young, he was very skittish, which makes sense. He is now 13 years old. But as he grew, he really warmed up to me. I didn't do anything in particular to tame him. I just spend time with him. And that's what I always recommend. People are asking me, how do I tame my lizard? How do I tame my tortoise? How do I make it more friendly? Time. You're talking about an animal that lives a long time and needs to get used to its surroundings, used to the situation, the daily regimen, and that's what happened. So on their islands, they live on these islands in the Indian Ocean. They're originally from a small cluster, an atoll, really. They're not much of islands. They're actually just a group of atolls, which are coral reefs that are exposed and have become islands. And, there's not a lot of shade on these islands. They're basically not a lot of vegetation, not a lot of food. So they've evolved to actually live off very sparsely vegetated islands, and they're able to grow really, really large on such low nutrient food, which is incredible. Now, there is debate which tortoise is bigger, the Galapagos tortoise or the Aldabra tortoise. And basically, it's a toss-up. And, Aldabras as a whole will grow larger than some species of Galapagos tortoise. However, some species of Galaps from different islands may rival or exceed these animals in size. But a male Aldabra tortoise, which we now know the Nostradamus is, a male Aldabra tortoise will reach between 550 and 600 pounds, and sometimes even more. It's really an incredibly impressive animal when you get up close and see such an adult like that. The males are just incredible. Females are going to be about half that size, around the 300 pound mark. And, so there you have that. They do breed in captivity down here in Florida. We have people in Florida, as I mentioned earlier. We also have folks in Arizona that as well breed them. They are very, very impressive animals. And you see what he's doing right now, right? They're grazers. They're going to eat almost the identical foods as a sulcata or leopard tortoise, star tortoise. We consider them a high fiber, low protein grazer. So that's what they're going to be looking for. I feed them hay, they eat the grass. Do we have any questions, by the way, Tom?
What temperature do you keep his cold house?
Very good question. I mentioned we had problems with the, when they were young. Remember, I raised these guys outdoors. They were about that big. Some people will want to raise them indoors, but being in Florida, I like to put everything outdoors. Where I think I made the mistake and why that one tortoise got sick was because it was a little bit more moist in the house and the temperature dropped. So to answer your question, their house on the coldest night here in Florida is not below 70 degrees. I keep it about, 75 degrees and dry. Very, very important. So that's the lowest I'd let them go. And as they became adults, they get more and more hardy and more, not fully adapted to our cold nights, but they do retain heat because they are such a large-bodied animal and they have that black shell. So the first thing he does, you want to go that way? So the first thing he really does in the morning is he wakes up and just this black shell just absorbs all that solar radiation and heats up his internal organs. So they'll lay for about an hour. And once that happens, they get up to that operating temperature and they start to graze and move around during the late morning. And then when it gets too hot, they're seeking shelter in these palmettos out back. You can see all the foliage and so on behind me. But yeah, they're basically just moving around for a bit. And now that it's cooled off, they're gonna have more extended periods of activity. Any other questions, Tom?
Yeah, Harish Asharia.
Okay.
So do you know how many are left in the world?
Oh man, Harish, that's a good question. These are CITES 2 animal, which means that there is some regulation on the international trade of this species. They are not, they're endangered in the way that any animal from an island is considered endangered because its native range is so small. If any kind of natural catastrophe happened on their island, they could potentially be wiped out. But there is a very healthy population of these animals in zoos and in private collections across the United States and across the world. Probably in the neighborhood, if I were to guess, I would say that the population's over 100,000. I don't think it's really that bad.
A real quick one. Tell Kenan to say hi to Amoga.
Amoga, what's up, man? How you doing? Where are you from?
Crazy Viper 100 wants to know, do you ever worry about ticks or anything on your animals?
I do. I saw that question maybe on another thread this morning. I was going to answer it and then we got busy. But when we're talking about ectoparasites, any kind of parasites are going to occur when you keep animals in a more natural state. Now, I've talked with Tom Crutchfield, who's going to be a guest in later episodes of our live show. And Tom Crutchfield and I have discussed this with snakes outside. We see ticks. I've gotten ticks on my tortoises. I just pick them off. I've gotten ticks on my snakes, but I've never, ever seen mites on any of my animals that are kept outdoors. Mites seem to be, and this is, don't take this as gospel, but again, in discussions with Tom Crutchfield, who I respect his knowledge, doesn't mean he's infallible, but mites occur when they are living in filthy conditions, i.e. they're, an importer or, something like that. They pick it up there and then they get spread to captive collections. I have personally never seen a wild snake that I've caught with mites. I've seen them with ticks and so on, but not mites. And then to further go into your question, once a year, I do a deworming on these animals. Okay, so they'll get some Panicure paste in their food, helps them deworm any internal parasites, because it's just going to happen from them being grazers.
Okay. Okay. So Bangarang Z wants to know, what humidity level do you keep hatchling?
Oh, very good. You know, with these guys, to raise and get that nice shell, as you see. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, the shell. The question was, who asked that question?
Bangarang Z.
Bangarang Z was asking, what is the humidity you keep hatchlings at? That's a great question, because as you can see here, Nostradamus' shell is just incredible. He's always been raised up outdoors. Natural sunlight, natural grazing food. Don't feed him too much food. Slow, steady growth is what I always preach when I'm talking about tortoises. As far as the humidity, right now we are getting into Florida's dry season. So the humidity is about 60%, okay? Now, that's just up here at human level. Down lower with grass, closer to the ground, you create microclimates. So the humidity is definitely more raised. So I would say to keep hatchlings between 60 to about 80% humidity, but basically you want to go a higher humidity towards the higher range if they have a hiding area, and always provide them with leaf litter or some kind of sphagnum moss or orchid moss. I know a lot of you weren't happy when I said orchid moss. Oh, orchid. Orchid? It's orchid moss. I always get that messed up, not orchid moss. Anyhow, so basically you want to keep the animal at a higher humidity and allow them to decide. Even though they're from a drier area, all of these babies are going to seek out microclimates, and that helps their shells grow. Hope that helped.
Now that you know Mino Atef, will you get him a girlfriend?
Mino Atef's asking, will I get him a girlfriend? Great question. I would love to have him a female, for sure. The problem is, when you're talking about a tortoise of this size, there's a monetary value ascribed to that. You know, the larger galops or any tortoise gets, the more expensive they become.
How much are they?
Well, these tortoises can become pretty expensive. Adults can go for about $30,000. Males can sometimes cross that $35,000 range, because males are actually in more demand than females. There are more females in captivity than males. So it will be easier. What I would probably do is do a deal with some of my friends that have a female, and we do a breeding loan. Where I'll have the female come here, she'll live here, and we basically are studying out Nostradamus. There's still quite a few more years before that's going to happen, because in order for you to really know, in order for you to know their sex without getting lucky like I did, the animal has to be about 200 pounds before it starts really showing sexual dimorphism, and that is being able to tell the different physical characteristics that these guys have to enable them to be properly gendered. So there's that. And also they have to be about 200 pounds before they become fertile. So it's kind of like tortoise puberty, if you will. They get older, they become fertile. And so that's what we'll do. We'll stud them out.
Can you give a shout out to Aiden Bradley?
Hey, Aiden Bradley. What's up?
Caitlin Wade wants to know, which is larger, Aldabra or Galapagos?
All right, Caitlin, I explained that a little bit earlier in the video. Some islands on the Galapagos, those tortoises evolved and they grew larger, just a smidgen larger than by and large all Aldabras. However, if I were to say which is larger, I just go right off the bat, the Aldabra tortoise, because they get to about 600 pounds. It's a toss-up between the island species and the Aldabra from the Galapagos. And I love watching this guy eat. We have another question.
Yeah, Desert Reptile 98. Who would you think would win a fight between him and a sulcata?
Oh, okay. Now, Sid, that's an interesting question. Okay, so check it out. These guys are actually pacifists. They really. I don't think everyone heard the question. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to remember the question. So who asked that question?
I already lost it.
It don't matter. We lost the question. Here's the question. The question was, who would win in a battle, a WWF matchup, if you will, between an Aldabra tortoise or a galop and like a sulcata? I would say that these giant tortoise species are very docile. There's not too much combat. There's a lot of positioning, like male galops will open their mouth and try and reach their head up and try and dominate that way, where sulcatas physically get into it. There is a little bit of physicality with Aldabras and galops, but not a lot. I would say the sulcata could beat up the Aldabra. And in fact, a friend of mine, Jerry Mata, had a sulcata that broke into his galop pen and really did a number with his gular projections. As you know, sulcatas have those projections that are underneath their chin at the plastron, and they use them as a battering ram. So it actually pushed away the flesh from the shell, and it took a long time for his galop to heal. So there you go. Sulcatas are just more naturally and a more dominant or aggressive tortoise.
How do you clean up after them?
It's very easy. Put them outside in large enclosures and let the dung beetles fly around and eat their poop. That's it. I don't clean up. Basically, you know, I'll clean their water bowl. You can see behind me their big water pond. I clean that and I rake out and clean their night house. But beyond that, nope, let the poop go. It just, you know, breaks down, goes into the soil, and it's great fertilizer. Sometimes I do rake up the poop from the night houses, and if you just pan over here, pan to the cactus over here and show them the cactus. That's just some of the cactus I have here, but all this, guys, all this over here is tortoise poo. Look at that. I'm touching tortoise poo. Isn't that disgusting? But look, it's breaking down, and it actually helps fertilize my cactus. So it's the circle of life, you know what I mean? And we just keep things going. Speaking of cactus, let me do this. And you guys know, if you watch a lot of my videos, I don't mind touching poop, you know? Let's give him a little cactus. Oh, there's my lion, Maximus. It's my domesticated lion there. But here's a cactus for him. They love cactus. But I think he's so excited to be on this giant buffet of grasses. Come on. There you go. So there. Any other questions, Tom?
Questions from somebody asking, I don't know if you want to just, when do you think you'll have leopard tortoise hatching?
Oh, okay. When will I have leopard tortoise hatchings? I didn't get a lot this year as far as eggs. I've got about 10 eggs. That's really low. I don't know what happened. It just didn't happen for me. And you're dealing with live animals. So basically, I should have some leopard tortoise hatchling in January. Okay, but I'm not going to have a lot. And there'll be $150 per tortoise plus shipping. Look at Max. Max wants to be friends with this guy.
A new tortoise in JS said a new tortoise in his group ate doodle from another tortoise. Is that okay?
Did he eat doodle or doo-doo? You know, that's a good question, actually, and that's okay. Here's what happens. The babies they're in their egg, right? Mom digs a nest. And this is what sulcatas, and even, you know, personally, I have not seen a nest of a Galapagos or Aldabra tortoise. But what tortoises I notice around here do is the female will dig out the nest, she'll deposit the eggs, but she also deposits feces. And this does a couple of things. The first thing it does is it creates humidity inside that nest chamber when she closes it all off. And the second thing it does is when the babies are hatched, they'll nibble on some of the feces. They'll nibble on that grass. And the reason being is they are inoculating themselves with the bacteria that goes into their digestive tracts to help break down the plant matter that these animals are actually eating, that you see Nostradamus eating. Their guts actually have something called a hind gut, which a lot of herbivores have, which ferments the food, the cellulose. It breaks it down and helps them really extract a lot of the nutrients. That's how they're able to grow and live so long, by eating something that really doesn't have a lot of nutrients. So good question, man.
Bram Stroker wants to know.
That's the dude who wrote Dracula.
Yeah, Bram Stroker wants to know, and you can repeat this question. Have you ever seen bad pyramiding in Aldabras?
I have. Bram Stroker is asking if I have ever seen bad pyramiding in Aldabras. I've seen bad pyramiding in every tortoise species that occurs in captivity. It's just, you know, if you're feeding them the wrong things, not giving them their proper environment, their bodies will respond in a less than positive way. So I have. What else do we got, Tom?
Would you mix Nostradamus with a different species?
Well, in fact, here in his enclosure behind me, okay, I mix him. I do mix the species with Nostradamus and only another species, the tortoise. I mix him with the Galapagos. He is living with the Galops. And the reason being is just space. They eat the same foods, have the same environmental requirements, and I'm not afraid of them breeding or anything. So yes, they do live together. But I keep most other species here separated by species. Or if, like, for example, my mountain tortoise and elongated tortoise, they live together because they're found in the same habitat and same foods, so on.
Ready Reptiles wants to know, how much food do you feed daily to all your animals?
Okay, very good question. Ready Reptiles is asking, how much food do I feed daily to my reptiles? I feed the animals, like the lizards and the tortoises in the cages, will eat 3 times a week, maybe a snack when I go in there. But the tortoises like Nostradamus and the galops, they only eat 2 times a week. And that's because there's so much for them to browse on, that's so much for them to walk around and do. Like my sulcatas have a whole field. And they're eating their natural foods. You see what they're doing here. It's very easy to overfeed your tortoise or reptile in captivity. Reptiles, as a survival trait, have learned to operate. Number one, they're cold-blooded, right? So they're operating at a lower body temperature. That means they don't use as much energy as a warm-blooded animal or a human being like us, where we need to eat at least 3 meals a day. This guy can just walk a little bit, graze, walk a little bit, graze, and that's it. And that's exactly what Nostradamus is doing right here. He's being the perfect specimen of tortoise. He sees this grass, he's going to eat it, he finds the tasty patches, and then he's off to the next spot. But walk, eat, walk, eat. So they're exercising and eating at the same time. Very efficient animals.
Do these tortoises ever get shell rot?
Do tortoises ever get shell rot? Yes, they can. If I were keeping these animals too wet, their plastrons would then get a white fungus on it, which can in turn erode to the living tissue underneath their scutes and start to become septic. You know, it's basically, you know, their first line of defense. The shell, the skin, the integumentary system is your first line of defense against infection. And once that's compromised and you know, the environment is exposed to their internal environment via the blood, you can get shell rot, you can get all kinds of sepsis, very, very painful way to die. So yes, I definitely keep an eye on the, you know, if it's flooding and if it's flooding for too long, when I need to move these animals out into a drier spot.
JS wants to know, if you grow plants that they can eat in their enclosure, you know, do you have to regulate how often they eat so that they don't get fat?
Well, no, if you're growing plants, number one, Jay, what was his name? JS wants to know, if I grow plants in their enclosure, will I have to regulate what they eat? Number one, you can't grow a plant in their enclosure. As soon as you plant it, they see it, they're going to eat it right down to the roots. I've created a situation with the leopard tortoises and even these guys. If you can pan over to their wall, I don't know if Tom can do it for me, pan over to their wall. You see the cactus? I'm growing cactus up on the outside of their enclosure because then it can grow up. And the interesting thing that happens is the tortoises then use it as a buffet. So they'll eat one side of the cactus, and I allow that to happen because natural foods, that is non-store-bought pet foods, are really good for these guys. Like I said, they're low in nutrients, so they can eat as much of it as they want. It's basically being able to keep up with their demand. So, you know, with the sulcata tortoises, they're on a very large paddock, okay? They've got almost like a half acre. So they never eat the grass all the way down. But with some of my other animals, I have to section off some of the habitat to grow grass back, open that up, let them in there, shut them off in there while they're eating that and grow grass on the other side. So I hope that answers your question, man.
Matt Doring wants to know, can 2 different species of tortoise mate and successfully reproduce?
Some can, yes. There have been a lot of examples of that. The question was, can 2 different tortoises mate and successfully reproduce? Yes, but they'll produce a hybrid, which in turn, that animal cannot grow up and successfully reproduce. There have been leopard tortoises and sulcata tortoises have mated. I've seen a leopard and a redfoot that had babies. Very strange. But you know what? We as tortoise keepers don't like that. We want to keep these animals specific, species to species, because, you know, these are animals that are becoming rarer and rarer in the world, and we want to keep them in their type, you know. I just like that better. It's not like we're into the morph game, or I'm not too much, you know. So there you go.
All right. Devonal Thacker really wants this question to be asked.
All right, Devonal Thacker, I'm going to answer your question.
What would you do if his shell gets a crack because of some reason?
Okay, what would I do if his shell got a crack because of some reason? That's what Devel asks. Well, it depends on how severe the crack is. And it's interesting, we can actually talk about that right here on Nostradamus. Come on over here. If you can look right here, you see this? This is actually a small injury that he got. And you can see I can pull out a little bit of the bark from the palmetto. That's what it is. So there's a little crack right here. As long as it's just superficial, this is just in the keratin. It hasn't gone down to the bone and it hasn't exposed his body. If it were bleeding and there was some kind of issue, I'm sorry, if there was some issue where it was bled and it had a potential for infection, I would dress it like any kind of cut, put some triple antibiotic, clean it, put triple antibiotic on it, and then keep him in a clean spot just to be safe, and he'll heal from the inside out. But as you can see, this wasn't a really bad wound. I'm leaving it alone, and over time, he'll shed off these scutes, and it'll grow and heal from the inside out, and he'll be good as new. I have seen some really catastrophic shell injuries on turtles, and they come back from them. Their shells obviously aren't as beautiful as they once were, but they do have the ability to really get themselves healed up if that should arise. Good question.
Kevin Manley wants to know what tips do you have if someone wants to start an insurance colony?
An insurance colony. Okay, Kevin Mealy wants to know what kind of tips do I have if someone wants to start an insurance colony. The first thing is, with my life, I basically was into this since I'm 4 years old. Read, read, read. As you read, you then get into it. You may buy some animals. I would contact the Turtle and Tortoise Preservation Group. All right, that's ttpg.org. They are currently having their annual meeting in Mesa, Arizona right now. I'm sad I can't be there with everybody, but they are a great place to start for the hobbyist. And through them, you're going to also meet biologists. And if you attend some of their meetings, go on their field trips, that's how you get in with people that may be a little further down the road than you. But I would, make sure you have the means to take care of these animals for a long time, make sure you have the space for these animals, and then also, have something figured out for when you pass away. Because as you know, turtles and tortoises live a long time. So I would talk to the TTPG and get involved.
Last question from Douglas Farley. Just let everyone know, last question from Douglas Farley. How do you move a large tortoise if you need to quickly?
Okay, very good question. Douglas Farley wants to know, how would I move a large tortoise if I need to do it quickly? All right, well, I can still pick this tortoise up, but this is the last question, right? And we're going to be signing off here in a minute? Yep. All right, fantastic. So if you go back and look at the videos, the Ultimate Sulcata Care video, I have these large Rubbermaid carts that the way they're shaped is when you tip them up, the tortoise can easily be scooped in and you can leverage them up. Another way, if you look at the bedtime at Kamp Kenan with the giant galops, I gently tap their shell. I learned this from my friend Sam Pascucci, who has a giant herd of galops. You just tap them and you can kind of corral them and get them to where they want to go. But for our sake, and we're going to be signing off, you can watch this here in a little bit. I'm going to lift this tortoise up. I go to the gym. I try and lift weights so I can be strong enough to go ahead and do this thing and get the animal back in. So we got neighbors saying hello to us as we're live here. But basically, it's muscles and keeping them in the area and learning how to corral them into where they got to go.
Cool. And as we're signing off, just let you know.
Oh yeah, we're signing off right now, guys. I want to let you know that in the videos, a lot of you have asked, where do I get my gear, or what gear do I use to help out with my animals? And so what we've done, Tom and I, is we've identified some products that I use or I like, and we've included them in some of the videos as little links. So you can kind of go and grab them on Amazon or wherever they may be. Go to the description under the videos and check them out, because in the description, we're going to be some ideas, maybe some different lighting I use, maybe some different water bowls, etc. Just some products that I think will help you as you begin your turtle and tortoise husbandry careers, okay? Your reptile careers. That's it, man. It was a live show. We had fun coming to you from a different area. Now we know this works. I'm pretty excited. So next week, we'll do something similar with another animal or another reptile personality. So stay tuned. Don't forget, Sunday's the bonus video, and Tuesdays are the regular Kamp Kenan shows. Don't forget to subscribe, share these videos. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys soon, all right? I got to now lift this guy up and bring him back in. So here we go. Before I sign off, we're going to do a deadlift. Whoa! Yeah, he's about 100 pounds. Okay, see you guys.